I would like to talk with you about style guide-driven development, and let's begin. So first of all, what SGDD is. It's a software development process for front-end projects based on agile programming paradigm. It means basically that it allows front-end projects to be developed in small packages and created in sprints as easy as backend development is separated in this sprint. So first of all, what style guide is. It is a set of standards for the writing and design of documents. In web applications or websites, it means a set of standards how the website and application views look. So here's the sample of style guide. We can see some typography, some buttons, and some color swatches. And what about driven development? For example, if we have test-driven development, we first write tests, and then we develop our application or our modules according to that specified test. If we have domain-driven development, we focus on domain. So we first we have to know what are we dealing with. And if we have SGDD, of course, we have to first create style guide. And why SGDD is important? Many of you may say they don't give a fuck about it. They don't want to know what it is and how to make it. But if you are here, you probably want to hear why it is important, and it will be shortly described further. So we have to step back to some history, and history starts with this guy, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, who is the inventor of this our whole web development, we can say. And for me, he's personally Jedi Master of web development. To see how the web was evolving, we can go to evolution.theweb.com and see a whole bunch of technologies that were developed from early 90s. And the main technologies which started was HTTP, then was HTML, JavaScript, CSS, Ajax, web fonts, SVG, Canvas, HTML5, and what will be next, we don't know yet, but as we can see, web development is growing really fast. These terms can describe how many technologies of front-end we have to get familiar with. It's of course not everything that we are familiar with, but some of them. And as we can see already, it makes a technological mess. When we're developing some website, we also have to be prepared for some improvements. So we have to be prepared to make some search engine optimization, to create some user experience better, to make our website or application more accessibility. And also, when our application grows, we have to be prepared for some expansion. And how this expansion can look. First, we have just websites. And then we have some wireless, so all mobiles using WAP. Then we had responsive web design, which we're using right now. And thankful for this responsive web design, we can also create some mobile application using Cordova, PhoneGap, Ionic, or native script. And what it talks about in the other auditorium, there's also possibility to create desktop application with NVJS, app.js, and Electron. Because of these many technologies, many ways to create these websites or application, also for mobile and desktop, you may think that it's too much, it's overwhelming you, because we have to be familiar with so many things. So that we talked about that we use Grunt, we use Gulp, and maybe we should, for simplicity, just use NPM. This way of change is probably dealing with this whole bunch of technologies that we don't, we cannot get with all of them as familiar as we would like. So we trying to simplicity for us. But because we trying to simplify some things, many of our maybe project managers may think that we lose our faith in project, and it's probably because of dark force and desired graphic designers, who of course want to create great websites, great applications, and often don't know how it should be implemented and what are the limitations for it. But there is a hope, and this hope is style guide-driven development. And how? First of all, we have to set some requirements. We have to have a modular design. Of course, with simple design given to us by PSD file, we can just make it code modularity. But if we have modular design, we also can develop modular code really easily. And second requirement is living style guide, because when we update some simple thing like color, we don't want to get another set of PSD files, for example, 100 files for any view, just to see that color changed. We want to see that only one simple change changes the whole website or application. And we need some tools. I said that we have many technologies to learn, but we have to choose tools that right are for us or for our application project. But we have to choose wisely. To create structure in our applications, we can use HTML, XHTML, or XML. Of course, we can use some templating system, which allows us to create some modularity with separating our code in some simple templates. And we can use, for example, Twig for PHP or also for JS, because there is a Twig.js. We can use Mustache, which are a bit old, and handlebars, which are developed over the Mustache. We can also use Haml or Jade. These are just sample codes how this templating system looks. We can find them. There are a bit similar handlebars, Mustache, and Twig. But Haml and Jade are totally different. So you have to decide which fits you better. When we have structure, when we have markup, we have to make it look better. So we choose some tool to present it. Of course, as web development, we can use CSS. And we can use some preprocessors to create CSS easier. We can use Sass CSS, Less.js, or Stylus. Also, we have some transforming tools, which is Post CSS. And this is how Sass CSS looks. This is Less, Stylus. And for Post CSS, we not have any additional coding convention. We just write our CSS, which is then just transformed to the one we need for our project. We can use autoprefixer, which is a post-CSS plugin, to make some prefixes for our properties in CSS. We can also use CSS Next, which allows us to use some modern CSS technologies that are not implemented in all browsers that we should support, and we can use this to transform our CSS to older version. And using these tools, we create some code. And when some new guy comes in the project, he sees some code and doesn't know what to do. So we probably should have some documentation. Of course, you can ask me, should I write documentation? I don't want to do this. I don't like writing documentation. Of course, I understand you. It's known that developers don't want to create documentation and write additional lines of code that isn't required for application to work. But put yourself in this new guy position. You go to another company, you have some new project to learn, and there are thousands of lines of codes, and would like to know where to go to see these important things. So a bit of documentation could be useful for you. So if you will write this documentation, maybe some other developer think the same. We can document also our CSS, not only JS, PHP, or other backend language. For CSS documentation, we can use KSS, style.doco, or document CSS. For KSS, we have, I think, the most simple documents, comments. We just write only that we need. So if we have some CSS code, we just add additional lines to it to have this documentation that we need. In style.doco, we also add some comments, but it depends on creating this new website from Markdown to present our code in some simpler way for us to consume it. Also, we have document CSS. And when we documented our CSS, we would like to have some documentation generated. And for it, we can use simple KSS, which uses Ruby, KSS Node, of course, written in Node.js, and we can use SC5 style guide generator, which I found very interesting, and it best fits my requirements. This is how look documentation generated by KSS. It's really simple and rare. We just can see this our elements and comments in simpler way. We have KSS Node, which is I don't know if it looks better, but it may. And we have SC5 style guide generator, which is built over AngularJS, and it allows us to change some variables from side panel and see these changes updated on our style guide. And if we connect this style guide or this, we watch our changes in our project, in our website or application, we can see that changes applied here in this side panel are updated in our application. When we are writing CSS, we can also use some architecture. So like linking our JS code, we can decide how our CSS should look. We can use for it object-oriented CSS, SMAX, or BAM. This is how simple object-oriented CSS might look. This is what are these categories for SMACs to decide how these selectors should be created. And these are 3 types of categories for BEM. I think it's most simple, and it's easiest to learn, and it's best suits our most of problems. So we just use block, element, and modifier to decide how our element should look, or block, or our whole module. When we create style guide, we should have some structure for it, and we decide which elements of this style guide are important. So I think the most important is, of course, color, and then typography, navigation, and some form elements like inputs or buttons. There are many, many more, and probably for AngularJS developers it will be directives as modules, and for any others it will be modules that are created from these elements that are bundled together. So if we have a color, we should stick to some convention, like we use primary and secondary color, not yellow or white, because when we want to change some color, when we change it in yellow variable, we can have green color named with yellow variable. So it might be a bit confusing. And this how it can look in SC5 style generator. We have some color swatches and have on the right hand side these variables that we can change. When we have typography, we can use grid lover to create some vertical rhythm for our application. If we use some navigation comments, we can document our links. And for form elements, of course, inputs and buttons. These are by bibliography for what I've presented. Many, many more articles about it are placed in styleguides.io. It's a set of many websites that are talking about style guides, so you can go there and find out anything that you need. If you would like to see how this SC5 style guide generator looks and works, you can go to its website, or you can watch talk that I with my colleague Michael we held in Krakow about style guide driven development. And on the last minutes of our talk, we have presented some our implementation for Educaster website. So, are there any questions?
Any questions?
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, yeah.
This document generator, it works on one CSS file, or you can have like a CSS file for every module or component and then somehow generate the style guide?
As I have shown, you create some comments in your CSS files. Then using Calp, you can transform this in the style guide, so it gets updated when you change this file.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Hello. At your company, do you use your own style guide, or maybe you extend some known libraries like Bootstrap or Foundation?
To be honest, I'm currently working at Samsung, which I started in December last year, and we just use some other methodologies for creating our application. When I was at Kerry's group with Michael, we developed with just this SC5 style generator.
Thank you.
Hi. So I wanted to ask, because this style guide generators like KSS or the other formats, they like generate HTML markup, yeah, and you can see like different like states of the various components. And can you somehow integrate also, you know, let's say JavaScript interactions? You wanted to show, for example, some component which has some like JS, some drop down which needs some JS. So would you also include some JavaScript code initializations into the this style docs which generate the markup, or how do you do it? Is it possible?
It's up to you, depending which generation style you will use for this documentation. But if you use this SC5 style generator, you can attach JS file and provide some markup in these cases comments to have this interaction. So if this JS attached to this documentation allows you to check this behavior, it will be working. It will be working, and you can see how it works on this presentation in StyleGuide. Yeah.
Cool. Just one short question. Do you know, because I was taking a look, I think half a year ago, at the SC5, and they were not supporting stylus yet. Do you know if it's supported already?
Stylus?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it. I use SAS CSS.
Okay. Cool. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so thank you.